Good morning, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to Sports Talk. My name is Frankie Olivo. Excited for today's show. We have a Brownsville native, an '08 graduate of Homer Hanna High School, RJ Ochoa. He is the manager and editor-in-chief for Blogging with the Boys for our very own Dallas Cowboys. Good morning, Mr. Ochoa. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Frankie. It's great to be with you. I haven't heard it as Homer Hanna in a long time. So very excited to kind of talk about, the Valley and Brownsville and everything going on.
Awesome. First and foremost, if you can introduce yourself to our community, let us know your background, your experience, and what you're doing today.
Sure. Well, I graduated from Hanna High School in 2008. And so I went to Texas A&M, and I wanted to be an engineer for a while. And then, I just kind of realized that wasn't something I really wanted long term. And so I got to a point after school where it sounds so silly to think back on it, but I loved the Cowboys, and I loved everything about the Cowboys, and that was something that kind of really defined who I was, and I was always that person that was like texting my friends or texting my dad, and just never wanting to talk about anything else other than the Cowboys. And so I thought, man, I really want to do this, and I'm so blessed, and I'm so fortunate that at the time, that was in 2012, my parents were both fully supportive of that want and of that dream. And so I just, I had a talk with my parents, and I said, well, I think, maybe I should move to Dallas. I don't know if that, makes logical sense or whatever. And it was my dad that actually said, well, maybe you should move to San Antonio. San Antonio is still, sort of close and whatever. And obviously we all know how close it is. And so I moved to San Antonio and was trying to figure out, what to do, like how to go about that, because it's a hard thing to kind of figure out. And I started working actually at a Cowboys pro shop. I think there's still one in Brownsville, and I think there's one in McAllen, and just kind of as this retail job. And I thought, at the time, like, man, I'm inside of a door that says Cowboys, and let me figure that out. And that really was in many ways my first like kind of job as an adult, or if you want to call it that. And I learned a lot about how life works and how corporate America works, and learned a lot about how that part of the Cowboys worked. And then, kind of, hung on there and kind of really threw myself headfirst into that. And it was about 2015 that I thought, you know what, I mean, I kind of got sidetracked from this goal, and I really, really, really want to write about the Cowboys or talk about the Cowboys or just somewhat be affiliated. At the time, Facebook had already become this big thing, but Twitter, I was really starting to understand Twitter a little bit more. And I just knew that I wanted to be involved. And so I started blogging. I emailed this guy that I found ran a blog. It was called InsideTheStar.com. And, talked to him and started writing 5 articles a week there. Talking about this, talking about that, and kind of learning how that goes. And did that for a while. And we had a guy who did podcasting for us. And so I would jump on that. I asked him if he needed anybody to help him podcast. So I would do that, every so often. And it was in 2016, the summer of 2016, I saw on Twitter that ESPN San Antonio, the radio station, was having a contest that they were calling Rock the Mic. And it was kind of like an open mic, competition. And you had to go and kind of give your thoughts on something. And I obviously chose the Cowboys. And, it was kind of like a stage thing, like you advance to this stage, advance to that stage. And I was really fortunate and blessed that I happened to win that competition. And that really opened some doors for me. The guys there, I owe a lot to Jason Minix and Rob Thompson and Ari Temkin. They offered me opportunities as the winner to be on air. I would fill in with them, and I would ask them, for anything I could do. And they needed people to track stats for high school games. And I went to Hanna High School, and like I said, I graduated in 2008, and we were not very good at football at the time. And so I didn't have a lot of experience in high school football, but I knew at the time, I have to do whatever is available, right? Like I want to learn. I want to, and people would always tell me when I was trying to get into this, you need repetitions, you need to talk, you need to be behind a microphone. And that was such a frustrating thing to hear, because all you think when you're this 20 something is, I'm ready, I can do this and whatever. And that experience was really valuable for me. And so I was really, I've mentioned, I'm so blessed. I was really blessed that the first Super Bowl that I was kind of affiliated with ESPN San Antonio was Super Bowl 51 in Houston. And if it had been in any other part of the country, I don't know if this would have happened. But because it was so close, they asked me, they said, hey, look, if you want to drive, we can't pay for you to go or whatever, but we could use your help, doing this, doing that, whatever. And so I drove. I asked a family friend if I could stay with them there in Houston. And again, if that had been in Miami or, Tampa Bay or LA, that wouldn't have worked for me. But it did. And I got to see and learn a lot about how that works, about how, something like the Super Bowl works, Radio Row, getting guests, talking to people, interviewing people. And so that was really cool and really interesting. And in parallel with all that was always blogging with Inside the Star. And in 2018, I reached out to a blog, Blogging the Boys, which is part of the SB Nation network. And I said, hey, I think it would be awesome if you guys need somebody. At the time, I was doing a lot of Facebook Live stuff and really just trying to do everything I could and make myself available everywhere. And so I started writing for them, and that was actually 2017, sorry. And in 2018, they had a full-time position open. They said, we want someone to kind of elevate Blogging the Boys and our brand and our podcast and our YouTube channel and our social media. And because I'd had experience there, they asked me if I would do it. And I was, of course, down. And so I've been there ever since and just kind of doing everything I could in between then. I've called high school football. I've, had a radio show on Saturday mornings in San Antonio. And I'm a big believer in social media and the power of it. And so, like I said, I've said it several times, but I'm so incredibly blessed. And just to have had all the opportunities that I have.
Just hearing from your experience, you have to pay your dues. So everything's not guaranteed. They ask you if you were willing to take an opportunity. You drove. They didn't provide no funds for you. That just shows determination and drive and more than anything, passion. What would you say? What was the hardest thing for you to learn? Blogging, being in front of on the mic, on camera. What's the hardest thing for you so far in your career?
I think part of it is definitely paying your dues. I think, like you watch like TV shows or movies and you hear like, oh, I had to get coffee. And like, I had to get coffee for people. And you think like that will never happen. Like, that's just this stupid thing that's on TV or whatever. That's a real thing. But I think in this world, you think, okay, I started a blog. I bought a domain name. I started a podcast. I created an image. I opened a Twitter account, whatever. You think like, and because you want to do this so much, you have so much to share, you think it's going to happen right away and you're going to just take off and this and that. And it's hard, obviously, to, not to measure yourself by the number of retweets you get or the number of views you get or the number of downloads. And that's really hard. And it's hard to push through because it's easy to get discouraged and it's easy to say, this article, I spent 3 hours on this article and it got 100 views or whatever. And that's tough because, you see people and you're measuring yourself against other sites or other people. And that's hard. And I have a really strong support system and I have my own faith. And so that really is what has propelled me and kind of kept me with a level of mental discipline that really allowed me, I think, to kind of get through those things. But I think the other thing is you have to accept that a lot of things are out of your control. I mean, like I wouldn't have had the opportunity at that first Super Bowl if it hadn't been in Houston, and so you have to be patient. And that is such a hard thing in any aspect of life. But I'm a believer that if you put in the work and if you wait and if you hope and you leave yourself open to enough opportunities, things will happen for you.
That's amazing because nowadays, I don't know if we are, we feel entitled, our generation, but we want everything now. We want instant satisfaction now. And that's not the way life works. So it's interesting to hear your story and your advice for anybody trying to accomplish a goal of theirs. And you seem very passionate about your craft. So it's very important for us to understand that you have to pay your dues. You have to go above and beyond to get to where you want to be. Now, speaking of the Cowboys, are you familiar with the Southmost Pitada?
Vaguely, yes.
It's after a Cowboys win, and this is something that's very unique for our city of Brownsville. After a Cowboys win, the city of Brownsville goes down Southmost and goes nuts, goes crazy. We have people going back and forth, waving flags, face painted, holding up signs, honking like crazy. It's a nonstop event. That just shows the passion for our Dallas Cowboys. Tell us a little bit about the Dallas Cowboys. Is this like a family affair where you guys all either get together, or what do the Cowboys mean to you, and how did this become into your passion to do so?
Well, so I graduated from Hannah in 2008. So the quick math there tells you I'm 30 years old. And so obviously I was born at a time, where the 90s Cowboys were a thing, and everybody knows that. And so, yeah, I mean, like my family is obviously full of Cowboys fans. And I think football is this unique thing. The NFL is, at least, where it's this weekly thing, right? Like, after every game, and you go to school, right? You're in high school, whatever. And you're like, my whole week would be determined by how the Cowboys played. I would either have a great week or a terrible week or whatever. And for me, I really, really, really became invested in the Cowboys to a high level in 2006. That was my junior year at Hannah. And, the only people I knew that were super into it as much as I was were my dad and my cousin. And this, 2006 doesn't sound that long ago, but the text messaging wasn't what it was. There certainly wasn't any social media. There were barely, blogs or websites and things. And so when something would happen, when something big would happen, and 2006 happened to be the year that Tony Romo also took over. So there was a lot happening for the Cowboys. When something big would happen, I really wanted this like network. I really wanted this family or this group just to talk to about it, right? And so I would talk people's ears off at school, and people would be like, "Dude, that's fine. I really don't care," And so it became this thing. My mom would listen to me, just kind of, well, this happened because this, and she put up with so much just to entertain me because she loves me. And so it became something that I think I'm an only child. Because I loved, my dad obviously loved the team, but, and I was 16, 17, kind of, becoming an adult, and it was something that we shared, something new, something common. And I think in a way, I hope at least I sort of re-energized his love for the team, because it was this new generation, so to speak. And so, it became that. I mean, it became something that I became like known for with my family, and every Christmas, like my aunts or whoever, oh, we got you this Cowboys blanket or whatever, and so it just became part of who I was. And so as more information became accessible, as the internet became this thing, I kept finding places to share. In fact, in 2007, the summer of 07, my dad and I went to training camp, Cowboys training camp, which at the time was in San Antonio. And I met a guy who at the time had just launched a website called bloggingtheboys.com. And that was how I first learned of the website. And I would read through that all throughout college and stuff. And so it really was and has been a family thing for me. Which is amazing for me because it's my job. And so I'm so blessed to be able to share that, and that my wife and my parents are as into it as I am, and that they enjoy the things that I create, because we all want to see the team win and have success.
That's funny that you mentioned that your whole week revolved around Sunday on how the Cowboys did on that particular week. And it's interesting because we've been dealing with this for 25 years, RJ. So it's something that we can all relate to. How did the Cowboys do? That's going to determine how the rest of the week goes for us. So it's very funny that you mentioned it, because we've been waiting year in, year out for us to go deep into the playoffs and much more. Play at the big stage. So that's funny that you mentioned. Regarding your experience, how did you get involved with ESPN SA? We have here that you're interviewing Charles Haley. Super Bowl champion for the 49ers and for the Cowboys. How did you get involved with ESPN SA?
Well, like I said, I'm really blessed and really fortunate, and God's timing has been so important in my life. And it was in 2016, like I mentioned, they held that contest, Rock the Mic, that I went and I won, and I was really just so fortunate to be able to win that. And because I won, it was the first time they ever held that competition. They would go on to have it every year after, but at the time in 2016, ESPN San Antonio had two local shows. They had one that would air every day from 11 to 2 and every day from 4 to 7. And so if somebody was out, they would call me because I was the guy that won the contest, and I would go in for free because I knew, that those reps would be valuable. And so I would do a little bit more, and I would get to know the guys. And so the Charles Haley thing, as an example, because they're ESPN San Antonio, they have on guests. And every Monday, for example, at the time, they would have Jason Garrett on. And so if somebody missed Monday and they asked me to fill in, I would get to do those interviews, and I would get to do those things that they had already had scheduled. And so I was really fortunate that they were able to have so many guests. We interviewed Charles Haley a couple of times, Jason Garrett, Drew Pearson, Bryce Butler at the time, Michael Irvin several times. Really cool opportunities. And something else, ESPN San Antonio goes out to training camp every year in Oxnard, obviously in normal times. And so, they asked me if I wanted to go. And so in 2017, I went for the first time, went out with them to Oxnard and got some coffees and set some things up. But I would do the things they would ask, and then they would, allow me my own time to go figure things out and do what I wanted to do. And I would go talk to people that lived and worked out of Dallas and kind of make connections there, because I didn't have those opportunities on a normal basis. And so they opened a lot of doors for me, and I'm eternally grateful to like I said, to Jason Minix, Rob Thompson, and Ari Temkin for what they did for me at ESPN SA.
If you could give us a little insight, what's the day in the life of RJ? What does your day consist of? How does your week consist of? Morning to when you shut it down. Could you give us a little bit of insight into how that works?
Sure. Well, you and I were talking before we jumped on live. My wife and I actually moved back to Weslaco a few months ago in July, and that's where my parents live also. And so, we're now at a point where there's no more boxes anywhere, things like that. But my day to day really hasn't changed from the time we lived in San Antonio to here. Like I said, I'm the manager at bloggingtheboys.com, and so I oversee all of our properties. That's our website, our podcast, our social media, our YouTube channel, every piece of content that we put out. And so what I do, I wake up, today, for example, the Cowboys play the Seahawks. I woke up and the first thing I always do, and my wife will tell you, I check Twitter and I'm checking what's going on, what the headlines are today, for example, who's not playing, who's inactive, my objective always is what can we create a piece of content out of? For example, the Cowboys don't play till 3:00, but at noon, the Cincinnati Bengals play the Philadelphia Eagles. So, okay, let's troll the Eagles. Let's make fun of them. Let's have some fun there. What college football storylines can we piggyback off of and kind of ride? And tomorrow, the Cowboys will win or lose today, and I'll wake up and I'll jump on Twitter. I'll tweet out some stats. I'll tweet out some fun nuggets and things I found interesting. We'll respond to people. We'll get articles up, analyzing what happened tonight after the game. We'll have a podcast that goes up, a quick reaction. Why this happened, why that didn't happen, what our takeaways were. We'll shoot a YouTube video. We'll get it up. And then every day it's just monitoring, latest injuries, who said what did this player like on Instagram, anything that we can create any piece of content out of, I'm searching for constantly. And then, trying to figure out, does that make the most sense as an article? Does it make the most sense as an image that we can create? Does it make the most sense in the video? Can we use the audio in our podcast? Because there's a lot of information that's accessible in a number of different ways, in our current times. And so we're trying to figure out the best way to get it to people so that they enjoy it the most.
Being a part of the media, you have traveled just about everywhere covering sports. What has been, or who has been, one of your favorite interviews that you have given?
Like you said, I'm so fortunate that I've had such great opportunities. I've enjoyed interviewing Michael Irvin. That's never happened in person. In terms of in person, In I believe 17, when we were at Cowboys camp, I interviewed Bryce Butler, who at the time was a receiver for the Cowboys, and they had just practiced. The Cowboys did. So they were coming off the practice field, and he threw his arm around me, and he was really sweaty, and so it was kind of disgusting in a lot of ways. But it was, and we were kind of walking, and he was kind of like resting his arm on me. And I was just thinking, like, man, this is the sickest thing in the world, that I'm just walking on the Cowboys practice field with Bryce Butler drenched in sweat. And my favorite thing to talk about is oftentimes not football. We were talking about golf, and we were talking about California. We were talking about Whataburger and In-N-Out and whatever. So that one was really great and really awesome. The first Super Bowl I went to, and this is another example of just kind of taking whatever I could get. Because the guys were doing all of their interviews on Radio Row, they'd been given an opportunity to interview Kirk Cousins, who at the time was playing for Washington. But it was happening at an event that was a little bit away from Radio Row, so I had to walk. I walked about a mile in all my dress getup and everything. And it was at the every year the Super Bowl, there's the Puppy Bowl, like the few hours before on Animal Planet or whatever. And he was at the Puppy Bowl exhibit, so I had to like walk over all these puppies. And I got to interview Kirk Cousins, and that was really cool. And it's obviously fun to interview Cowboys, and I love the Cowboys. And so at any time, you get to interview one of them, it's really cool in that way. But I've also really enjoyed interviewing like a Kirk Cousins, somebody that plays for a different team, because it allows me to be a little bit more objective, because I'm getting to know Kirk the person as opposed to somebody who I want to see, have success and whatnot.
Nice. We have a picture here of you and your father with Jerry Jones. How did that come about? Did you have a backstage passes? Was this a private event? How did this come about?
That photo is actually from the Pro Football Hall of Fame weekend in 2010. Emmitt Smith and Jerry Rice were both enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame that year. And so that was like an hour before the ceremony started. And my dad and I were on our way to, getting outside and getting, to our seats. And there were people saying, Jerry Jones is over here, whatever. So we walked over there, and that's why we're wearing the Emmitt Smith jerseys, because he was the one going in. But Jerry was there, and we asked to take a picture. There was a guy, we took the guy's picture first. This was like back when people had digital cameras, like before phones and stuff. And but Jerry was in a rush, and so that was why that photo kind of ended up looking a bit stumbly. But yeah, that was really cool, and that was awesome to be there in Canton, Ohio, when Emmitt and Jerry went into the Hall of Fame.
Awesome. Super Bowl champion Patrick Mahomes. What is he like as a person? Were you able to exchange a few words with him?
So this photo, this is from that Super Bowl in Houston. So this is in February of 2017. This was a few months before Pat was drafted. And so a lot of times the guys who are going to be entering the draft go to the Super Bowl a few months ahead of time and do interviews and get their name out there and whatever. And that's what Pat Mahomes was doing. Obviously, people knew who he was, but he did a bunch of interviews. But so at this time, nobody really knew that he was Pat Mahomes. And so he was super cool. He was really funny, and he talked with us, obviously did the interview, but just talked about different stuff and whatever. And so, yeah, that's a really cool photo to have, obviously, considering who he's become.
Just signed a contract for $400 million, if I'm not mistaken. He's 24 years old, Super Bowl champion, MVP. He looks like his reign of dominance will be for the next 8-9 years, it seems. Hopefully, God willing, he's injury free. So that's an amazing picture. I'm sure you if you haven't already, you will one day hang that up on your wall.
Yeah, I'm so fortunate, and I say that I'm blessed a lot because I believe that, and that is such a fundamental part of who I am, is my faith, and that really influences how I live and how I operate. And so I am very blessed. I mean, everything that I've had the ability and the opportunity to do. So I know it sounds repetitive, but it truly is the fundamental truth to my life.
You were a part of, you were in attendance for one of the greatest Super Bowls in history. In my opinion, we can go back even to Pittsburgh and the Cardinals when Harrison ran that interception back into the end zone. Fitzgerald had a touchdown, and if you remember, Santonio Holmes with that was before this picture on here. That, in my opinion, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Arizona Cardinals was the best Super Bowl, at least that have witnessed. But man, oh man, the Super Bowl with the New England Patriots and the Atlanta Falcons was one for the ages. Please tell us a little bit about your experience, before game, during the game, and what it was like to share this experience with your father in attendance.
So I've mentioned, my dad and I, when I was in high school, he was the person I would talk to the most about the Cowboys, and influenced a lot of the way I view football and view the way I create content. And so my dad and I love football. My dad's my best friend, and so we obviously enjoy the Cowboys football together. But we're NFL fans, and that's why we went to the Hall of Fame, and we have a lot of respect for the game and its history. And so this Super Bowl, as you mentioned, this was the one in Houston. This was the first one that I worked as a member of the media. And we had decided, because the locations for Super Bowls are known a couple of years ahead of time. We had said, God willing, we'll go to this Super Bowl. Regardless of what teams are in the game, we want to go. We want to be able to say, we went to a Super Bowl. We've attended a Super Bowl. We've seen one. I mean, it's a big deal, obviously. And so we had decided that year, okay, we're going to go to the Super Bowl. And that was actually Dak and Zeke's rookie year when the Cowboys went 13-3. So we thought, man, we're actually going to luck into this, that we chose this one and the Cowboys are going to end up being in it. And obviously that didn't happen. And so we were really bummed about that. But we just said, you know what, let's just hope it's a great game. And obviously, first Super Bowl to ever go to overtime. We were sitting near a lot of Patriots fans, and so they asked who you rooting for, and we kind of told them our story, and they said afterwards they were like, man, y'all picked a pretty incredible game to come to. And so that's a really special memory for me, just because I spent the week there in Houston working with ESPN San Antonio the first time there, and then my dad came to town. And because of everything we'd done throughout the week, I was able to take him to a couple of Super Bowl parties and stuff, and so that was cool. And the pregame, I mean, I've been very fortunate to have been to a lot of NFL events. I've never seen anything like that. I mean, it is unbelievable. I've never been to the Statue of Liberty, right? But I imagine that whenever I go eventually, it will be cool. But it won't be this amazing thing, because you see it in movies and people tell you about it, and it'll be fine. But the Super Bowl is something that you think is this massive mega thing, and you get there and it is even larger than you could have ever possibly imagined, just because it's the Super Bowl. It was quite an experience. We got to see Lady Gaga. She was the halftime performer. And we got to see the greatest, what I believe is the greatest game to ever be played. I'm a huge NFL historian, and so to see the first Super Bowl that ever went to overtime was really cool for me.
28-3, if I'm not mistaken. I think people at halftime or even the third quarter gave up on the Patriots. But man, oh man, just for you to be, for the world to be watching, and then for you and your father to be in attendance, I'm sure this is something that you will cherish for the rest of your life. So, big props to you for witnessing history firsthand. And I'm sure that's something that you and your father, we'll be talking about this for years to come.
It was really cool. At the time, I would do a kind of a live stream after every Cowboys game. And so I did one there from the Super Bowl. And so I saved the video, and it's something, that I've gone back and rewatched. It's just really cool to watch us in the aftermath of it. It was beyond words. It was a really special memory for me.
Awesome. The Cowboys are 1-1. They should have won game one, week one against the Rams. To me, the cornerback flopped on that one. He pulled a Ginobili, and that was not an offensive pass interference. We should have been there possibly to score, but for sure to tie the game. Talk to us a little bit about week two very quickly. The turnout was amazing. Again, throughout the game, I was getting text messages about, oh, here we go. The Cowboys are going to go 0-2. The East, is very weak. And then lo and behold, one of the greatest games in a while. Tell us a little bit about your feelings, your emotions, and how you were when we had that game-winning field goal.
Sure. I mean, ironically, it was against the Atlanta Falcons, obviously something their fans have been dealing with for the whole week. I still, there was a lot of hype and a lot of expectation for this Cowboys team entering this season. And they really haven't played like that, obviously. I'm a believer personally, which I know is an unpopular opinion. I don't have a problem with the OPI call in week 1 against Michael Gallup. But so, to me, the Cowboys should be 0-2. And they stole a game last week. And I think that happens in the NFL. I think you have to steal games. I think that you have to get lucky. And those things are certainly part of a season for any successful team. And the Cowboys did. And so, that it's hard to explain how the Falcons managed to do that, and like the onside kick and not knowing the rules and things like that. I think, to me, Mike McCarthy was advertised as this guy who has really embraced the world of analytics and really incorporates them into every decision that he makes and every way he thinks. And we have not seen that person. And to me, that was the most exciting thing about Mike McCarthy is if he is sort of woke to the idea of analytics, then the Cowboys have a really, 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 sort of high ceiling under him over the course of his tenure with the team. But we haven't seen that. And so it's a little concerning that maybe he isn't that analytics guy. Maybe he just said that to get the job. However, the thing that a lot of people have debated all week long was the Cowboys' decision to go for 2 when they were down 15 points against Atlanta. That decision to go for 2 when he did is the only thing that Mike McCarthy has done that exemplifies an acceptance of an analytically based form or way of thinking. And so that gives me hope. And the Cowboys paid Ezekiel Elliott, and he's a fantastic running back. I'm not a fan of devoting a high level of resources to a running back, but the Cowboys did that. And it seems like they believe they have to feed Zeke, which, again, he's a fantastic player, but the best sort of method to perform on offense in the NFL in 2020 is through your quarterback. And the Cowboys have an amazing quarterback in Dak Prescott. And so, to me, that's what I'm most excited about this game against the Seahawks. If the Cowboys lose, they'll be 1-2 and people will freak out, and all of our commenters and stuff will think the season's over and the world is ending. But I mean, to your point, the NFC East is so bad that they'll be fine, even if they lose this game. But to me, so much of today is important because of how the Cowboys play. Do they lose because they try to dominate time of possession and run the ball? If that happens, I would be concerned about the future of this team because they do not believe in the way that football is being played in the here and now. But if they lose simply because Russell Wilson outduels Dak Prescott, well, hey, Russell Wilson is awesome and probably going to win MVP. And so you generally lose games to those guys, but at least you're playing the right and the most efficient way of football in 2020. So I hope that happens. I hope they let Dak Prescott loose, and I hope we see something really special in a couple of hours.
Prediction, you kind of alluded to it. Cowboys with the loss today against Russell Wilson and the Seahawks. Yeah,
I mean, I would love to pick the Cowboys, obviously, and I think it's possible. I don't think it's impossible by any means, but I mean, if I had to bet some money on it, if I had to, use the lunches that Hannah High School gave us and put them on one side of this, I would put them on the Seahawks, just because not only is Russell Wilson, and in saying Russell's better than Dak, it doesn't mean that Dak is bad, but it's not only that Russell Wilson's better, but the Seahawks are steering into Russell Wilson, which makes them better. And if the Cowboys do that, then they have a chance. But that's kind of the question that we're all excited to see the answer to.
Awesome. RJ Ochoa, manager and editor for Blogging with the Boys. I'll be sure to share that website with our community. That way we can go and follow you. Once again, RJ, I want to thank you for your time. I know, especially Sundays, you're a busy guy. We got games coming up in a few minutes. One of the reasons why, very quickly, I invited you to the show is because we are very proud of what BISD, the amazing talent that BISD has currently and in the past. And you exemplify that, my man, because you are doing great things. And you are the example of anybody who has a passion, who is driven, who's got goals, and is willing to sacrifice and put in the time in order to accomplish those goals. That's amazing. So thank you so much for your time. It is important for us as a community to recognize people like yourself. That way we know that BISD is amazing and has amazing students, my man.
I appreciate that. And in closing, I think I'll say, when I grew up, I think there was this and I think everybody goes to this, right? Like you think, I never want to, I want to graduate and I want to go away from here and I never want to come back. And like when you're in high school, that's your mentality on life. But like I said, my wife and I moved back to the Valley. My wife's not from here, but we moved to the Valley a few months ago. And so it feels so great to be back. And the community here is something special. And that's something that I really value and I think is underrated, of all the things that we do at Blog of the Boys, all the Cowboys content that there is, to your point, there is such a rabid community of Cowboys fans or whatever fans throughout the Valley, in Brownsville, in McAllen, in Harlingen, or whatever. And so I really, that was part of why I wanted to move back, to be able to create some content that is specific for the Rio Grande Valley, for the people here, for the students here. And I'm really, I'm so grateful for the education that I got at Hannah High School. I was in the medical magnet program, and so I know that a lot has obviously changed over the last 12 years. But everybody in my class, wanted to be a doctor when we were all freshmen. Just you sign up for that, and you go to clinical rotations, and you wear the scrubs, and everything is cool. And obviously that didn't happen, but what I experienced at Hannah really shaped a lot of the way I view the world. And I've never really thought a lot about how much it impacted me until recently. And I do owe a huge debt of gratitude to all the teachers I had there and all the staff that was there and the environment that they created. And obviously it was such a unique time with the world changing and social media evolving. MySpace was like a thing when I was in high school, but I owe a lot specifically to one of my English teachers, Miss McKenzie. I don't know if she's still teaching at Hannah, but Miss McKenzie, she had a reputation for being really hard on students. And so, when you would get your schedules, people would tell you, oh, you got Miss McKenzie, oh, watch out. But I hardly consider myself a writer, but I do obviously blog a lot. And so Miss McKenzie really, really, really influenced the way that I create content in an overall perspective. There was one time where we had to read a book and I didn't because I didn't. and we had to give a presentation on it. And so something I do now is I'll tweet out like funny math equations that make a funny story or whatever. And that started that day because I had to give a presentation and I had no idea what to do. And I just skimmed through some pages and I just made up some stuff that happened to make sense. And I know she was so angry that I managed to make sense about it. And I do that now, but it taught me to never be able to rely on an ability to just do that in the final seconds. And so she taught me a lot about hard work and about preparation. And so I had Mr. Mosh as my calculus teacher. He taught me a lot about kindness. He was such a kind person. He had really fun sayings, for like sine and cosine functions about not touching the baby and things like that. And so I'm really, really grateful for Hannah. And I know that Brownsville has changed a lot. And I know it's grown more and it's more visible to people. And I think it's this really special place that people need to know more about.
Once again, thank you so much, RJ, for your time. It's an honor to have you on. Maybe down the road, if you're free, we can do this once again. And hopefully it'll be Sunday during the Sunday morning for the Super Bowl when the Cowboys are playing. How does that sound?
I'd love to do it anytime. I think what you're doing is really great, Frankie. Keep shining light on the special people that come out of Brownsville and out of the Valley as a whole. I think it's well done. It's well purposed.
Thank you so much for your time, and you have a good Sunday.
You too. Thank
you so much. RJ Ochoa, manager and editor for Blogging with the Boys. Amazing individual. It's good to hear from BISD alumni who are doing what they love. And our community, we as a community should recognize these individuals who are doing amazing things. And he's very passionate about the Dallas Cowboys. I know that's something that we could all relate to. So for him to be doing what he loves, having his family a part of it, I think that's a win-win. So big props to RJ Ochoa and his family for all the great things that he's been doing so far. We wish him nothing but the best of success. And again, hopefully this is our year for the Cowboys. So hopefully we'll have RJ on in the very near future. Sports, guys, we had a lot going on yesterday. Very quickly, I want to Pac-Man, Manny Pacquiao and Conor McGregor are in serious talks to have a boxing fight. We saw how Conor McGregor fought Floyd Mayweather a couple years ago. And if you all recall, this was a multi-million-dollar boxing fight. I think McGregor took home a little bit close to $100 million. Floyd Mayweather came out with $300 million. So we have seen time and time again how Conor McGregor is the highlight. He is the main attraction, whether for mixed martial arts or even boxing. So I think this is a great way for sports, not boxing and mixed martial arts, to come together once again. We saw how Conor McGregor went deep into the 10th round, if I'm not mistaken, until he lost against Floyd Mayweather. So would McGregor have the endurance, the stamina to fight a boxing fight? We'll see. But I really like this matchup. I honestly think Manny Pacquiao will beat McGregor. But again, it's like how our friend Ellie says, it's going to be a big money fight. I don't anticipate it, Ellie, to be as big as the Floyd Mayweather, but I do anticipate it to be a big money fight. I personally like Pacquiao. The odds have already come in. I think they have McGregor at like a plus 400 and a Manny Pacquiao at a minus 2,000. So big money is going for Manny Pacquiao on this fight. And it is anticipated that this fight will be in either December or early January, somewhere in the Middle East. As we all know, the Middle East has big bucks, and they do love their boxing. They do love their mixed martial arts. So that's a great way for them to showcase and highlight this big fight if it were to happen. They said McGregor wasn't even going to land a punch on Mayweather, and it went 10 rounds. I agree. And big props to McGregor, because he did something that people gave him no respect for. As a mixed martial artist, Ellie, you can attest to this. As a mixed martial artist, hey, you're used to throwing hands, throwing feet, grappling, taking your opponent down, wrestling them, ground and pound. So for him to be on his 2 feet and only allowed to use his hands, I think that's very hard. But again, big props to Conor McGregor. He did things outside of his realm that people said that he wouldn't be able to do. And like how Eli says, he lasted 10 rounds with one of the best fighters in the history of the sport. So again, McGregor is obviously looking to cash in on that big prize, and more power to him. Nowadays, you got to get it while you can. These fighters, they don't have that life expectancy that other athletes, basketball players, baseball players have. So they need to make sure that they get their money now while in their prime and while they're able to do so. Raymond, happy belated birthday, Raymond. Mosh was one of the best math teachers BISD has had. I agree with you, Mosh and Hannah. I agree with you, my friend. Also, very quickly, I want to show yesterday. Let me see. We had a local boxer from Westaco, actually. Where is that? Brandon Figueroa. Let me take myself out here. Brandon Figueroa from Westaco. He defeated Damian Vasquez in the 10th round to retain his WBA super bantamweight title. Brandon Figueroa's record is 21-0 with 1 draw and 16 knockouts. So we had a lot of action last night. We had basketball. We had Mr. Brandon Figueroa from Westaco defend his title. So big props to Figueroa and the city of Westaco. I did mention that to RJ. So again, we always try our best to highlight the amazing talent that the Rio Grande Valley has here locally. So Mr. Brandon Figueroa from the city of Westaco, congratulations on your amazing accomplishment that you had. Also, for our fight fans, I'm not sure if my friend Eli is still on. Israel Adesanya, I know I'm saying it wrong. Adesanya, he had a fight against Pablo Acosta, 2 undefeated fighters. It was a great fight. I'm going to play a little recap of the matchup, little quick 10 seconds of it. It was a great bout. Israel Adesanya, the middleweight champion. I'll let you see it firsthand. This was last night's fight, guys. He was just controlling him throughout the whole fight. It was just an onslaught from the very beginning. Israel Adesanya was just keeping Acosta at bay with the leg kicks, and Acosta was doing his best to try and make it seem like nothing was touching him. Nothing was, he was showboating a lot, but you could tell midway through the first round he was hurting him, and Adesanya was just confident, just keeping him at bay, striking him. And we see in the second round that the ref called it. So it was a great fight last night for UFC. Great fight. Adesanya is light years away from everyone else. I agree. And what he talked about, Eli, was his respect for Anderson Silva, the great champion that Mr. Silva was in the middleweight division. And he's somebody that Israel Adesanya is looking up to. I want him to move up in weight and fight John Jones. Did you see him taking jabs at John Jones? I don't know if you saw the post interview. They asked him, hey, John Jones has been talking throughout, posting on Twitter regarding the fight. You got any words for him? And he pretty much just said, nah, I don't. Just pretty much talking smack to him, like, nah, he's nothing to me or something like that. Like I'm going to enjoy this fight tonight. So not even acknowledging John Jones, who is one of the best fighters, but of course he's got substance abuse problems. He's got other issues that don't allow him to be a current active member of the UFC as a fighter. I agree, Eli. Silva is the GOAT. So again, a great fight that we had yesterday. Yes, he was just baiting Jones, to be honest. I agree. And that would be a big money fight if Adesanya were to move up, because in that middleweight, there's nobody. There's nobody in that middleweight that could give him competition. And I agree. That's another big money fight for these two guys. Also, we had UT. Let me take off the comment. UT played Tech. Let me put it a little bit bigger. They were down 41-56 against the Texas Tech Raiders with 3 minutes left. UT came back to win in overtime, 63-56. It's always crazy for me whenever college matchups are so high scoring. I would think, man, how do the defensive coaches keep their jobs? But again, a great win for the UT Longhorns. It was an amazing game, up and down, high scoring action. So awesome win for the UT Longhorns. Also, we had our Aggies. Our Aggies come up with the victory, 17-12, low scoring game. They beat Vanderbilt Volunteers. So again, a great win by UT and the Texas A&M Aggies yesterday. Also yesterday, we had the Los Angeles Lakers close out the Denver Nuggets in 5 games. It was a lopsided game. So here we have LeBron James sitting down on the floor after his team was holding a press conference or being awarded the Western Conference title for the West. And as you could tell, LeBron James was not satisfied. Ramos, what's up, Ramos? Lakers going to win it all. No, I got the Heat, man. I'm going for the underdog. I like the Heat. We had LeBron James on the floor, and you could tell that he was not satisfied. Again, this is a man who has been to the finals now for his 10th time out of 17 seasons. An unbelievable feat that this guy has been, and this is a testament to his training. This is a testament to who he is. Many consider him the greatest basketball player ever. I wouldn't go that far. To me, I'm a Michael Jordan fan. He went 6 for 6 MVP titles. He never lost one at the big dance. LeBron James, out of 10, he's won 3. So again, there's many factors that go into that. But this is for Kobe. Yeah, on his shooting, on his hand, he got a little little thing of 24 on there. His personal trainer is from Brownsville. Yes, one of our good friends, Juan Carlos, JC. JC is his brother. But yeah, you're right. His personal trainer, I think his name is Michael, if I'm not mistaken. And he's been with them from the Cavs to Miami, now to the Lakers. He went even with them to China or Beijing for the Olympics. And he's his best friend, personal trainer. It would be a great way for me to reach out and try and see if I know he's busy now, but hopefully somewhere down the future we can learn about a little bit more about his success and his going up on that ladder and ultimately being LeBron James's trainer. So yes, I agree. Job is not done. Yes, that is what LeBron was saying pretty much. The job is not done. Lakers gonna win for Kobe. Kobe. Also today we have the Celtics and the Heat. Let's see if the Heat are able to close it out tonight. They are favored. Boston's favored to win today by 3 points. The Heat hold a 3-2 lead in this series. I anticipate the Heat to close it out today. That's what I said. That's what I said last game. But I anticipate the Heat closing it out today. And the Heat and the Los Angeles Lakers will meet, and I have the Heat with the upset. Ramos, maybe we want to wager some a lunch or something on this. So it should be a good game later on today, this evening after the Cowboys game. So Celtics Heat today at 6:30. Also, Texas fans, where you at? Y'all have been all right. Lunch on Lakers Heat. We'll talk about details later on, brother. Texans fans, where are all our Texans fans? They've been a little quiet this season. They have a game today at 12 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers are favored to win this game by 4.5. Now I think the Texans are regretting that trade that sent Hopkins to the Arizona Cardinals. You know, it's hard whenever you give up your number one target, your best player on the team away. I understand that Texans have many issues. One of them, they wanted a strong back. They don't have a good offensive line. They just recently paid the quarterback, Watson, large sum of money. But again, if you don't have no target, if you don't have no number one, if you don't have no weapons, as Ramos says, what use is having a good quarterback? So again, the Texans are 0-2. Hopefully they can turn it around today. They got the Steelers, who are playing very, very good, very tough. We'll have the Watt brothers playing against each other. JJ and his brother, is it RJ? I know they're both outside linebacker. For the Steelers, Watt is an outside linebacker, and JJ obviously is a defensive end. So we should have a good matchup today against Texans and the Steelers. And, of course, the America's team, the Dallas Cowboys and the Seahawks, they'll be playing today at this afternoon, the afternoon games. JJ and TJ, there you go. And Derek, I don't know, Derek, is he still in college or did he already go up to the pros? Let me know, Ramos. The Cowboys, they're favored to lose big by 6. 5.5, but 6 points. I'll take the Cowboys in the points. I am hopeful that the Cowboys will pull off an upset against the Seahawks. We heard from our friend RJ Ochoa that he does anticipate the Seattle Seahawks from winning tonight's game. I think last week's game against the Falcons will help build momentum moving forward. So I would like to have the Cowboys pull it off once again. So I'll take the Cowboys plus 6 in this matchup. Make sure you guys watch it this afternoon. Derek is a Steelers fullback. Nice. So the Steelers have 2 Watt brothers. Is that right? That's pretty cool, man. And the game of the week, the big matchup that everybody will be anticipating, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Ravens, Monday Night Football on ESPN. Is it Monday? Yeah, Monday Night Football on ESPN. On this game, the Ravens are favored to win by 3.5. Wow, I'll take the Chiefs and the points. I'll take Kansas City +4 away. They're playing the Ravens at home. I'll take the Chiefs. This is going to be a primetime game, so it should be a great quarterbacks, great matchup. We got 2 MVPs going head-to-head, defending Super Bowl champions against the AFC North champions, if I'm not mistaken. So it should be a good matchup. I like the Kansas City Chiefs to pull it off. This tomorrow night. Cowboys will win by 3. Yes, there you go, Raymond. Somebody who has my back. Thank you, Raymond. And of course, guys, lastly, the game of the evening. Where's Gilbert? Where's my compadre Gilbert? Where is he at? Let me see. Gilbert. Did you comment? I thought I saw your name. Arriba el Cruz Azul, Gilberto. Tonight's game, guys, should be awesome. I got a little wager on with a couple of my friends. El señor Hernández. Hoy va a ganar el Cruz Azul, amigo. So el partido en la noche, a las 9 de la noche, Cruz Azul contra el América. Ojalá que gane mi máquina esta noche. So it's going to be a good game, guys. Cruz Azul and América tonight at 9 p.m. Thank you once again to RJ Ochoa. Once again, it is great to hear BISD alumni doing great things, doing something that they're passionate about. RJ seems like an individual who's driven, who's got goals. He's got a good head on his shoulders. I anticipate him hitting it on the big stage in the next 5 or 10 years. So hopefully we'll be along with him in that journey through his professional career that will be and has been very successful. Thank you once again, guys, for tuning in. My name is Frankie Olivo. This is Sports Talk. We'll be coming live every Sunday morning. I'm sorry. I know 11 is kind of difficult, but I do not want to get in the way of football. I know we have a lot of football fans. So thank you so much for tuning in. Excited about next week's show. I'll be throwing out the details in the next few days. So thank you so much for your time, guys. You guys have a good day. Go Cowboys and go Cruz Azul, guys. You guys have a good night. Good day. Happy Sunday.